ago, you would be in Tokyo in 2021 representing Bermuda in the singles stalls. What would you have said?
I probably would have laughed and been like, "Oh man, imagine that," because I was teaching at the time. I wasn't actually rowing competitively at the time. Yeah, I probably would have laughed. I probably would have been like, "Oh man, yeah, wouldn't that be cool?" That's probably what I would have said 4 years ago on the day, and yeah, here we are.
You arrive in Tokyo. You're going to have the honor of carrying the Bermuda flag into the opening ceremony. Is this like a dream come true since you started getting into it?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is like, this is the dream, isn't it? I mean, it's not, and to add on top, just being here is just the dream, and getting to compete here, and then on top of that, being the flag bearer for Bermuda. I mean, wow, it's it's a long way from when I first got into a boat 13 years ago. So yeah, it's a long way from a couple of years ago trying to learn the single. So,
Rob, let me ask you, what did you see, or what do you see in the talent of Dara?
Well, I worked with Dara for a good few years on the sweep rowing side with Cambridge, and he's been on a big journey with the sculling really, and he's come a hugely long way. I think that's the big piece to start with. It was not quite the Olympic level, but he's worked away, and I think he's in great form right now.
When he comes to you to say, "I want to try this," what advice do you have for him right off the bat?
Well, I can't remember what I said to him initially, but I think I encouraged him, I hope, and and said, "Come on, let's give it a go, and let's do the best you can." And really from my role, I suppose I've just tried to help him as much as I can along the way. And obviously I have another job, and but we've tried to make the right decisions. Sometimes that's meant going to Australia for some time. Sometimes that's meant going down to Florida when we had all the COVID restrictions in the UK. And those were the right decisions. And then, he asked if I'd help him out and come out here, I think back probably in April time. And, I was delighted to continue with that journey.
Yeah. Dara, we spoke before you went to Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
You had high hopes of qualifying, but unsure of the competition with all the restrictions and all of that. Once you went across that line and then you got back onto shore and you found out, yes, you have done what you set out to do, and now you're sitting here in Tokyo just waiting for these games to start, and you'll actually be on the water tomorrow. Take us back to that feeling, and take us to the feeling that you've had with your final training session earlier today.
Oh wow, gosh, that's a long period of time and different emotions and feelings. I think, going back to the, after that Rio final, and I think while I was obviously like over the moon, I think I was the qualifier didn't quite go as I'd originally had in mind. I thought I was going in with like, I was gonna smash it, and I didn't quite get to what I had thought, and so it was kind of a weird I didn't do like the process as well as I could have. I didn't execute as well as I could have, but it was good enough. And then I think after that, it's just been more about, okay, well, let's just take each day like as itself, and just I went away from the process, I think, in Rio. So I'm like, okay, well then the kind of antidote to that is just focus on, don't worry about everything going on around you. Just focus on what's going on in your boat, and moving the boat, and that's sort of been, the mantra of these last few months, and even to today. Though I suppose it's always fun to just look around once in a while, once you're out of the boat and you're just kind of here and walking around, it's cool to just take a step back. And I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to squeeze out as much as I can. But I also know that there'll be plenty of time to look back once it's, I've got a job to do, and once that's done, then there'll be plenty of time to look back at it. So,
Rob, the course in which Dara will be competing on, does it really suit his style of rowing, or is it one of those where he has to work a little harder to adjust to the boat he will be in?
Yeah, I think it's quite a neutral course actually. The wind's generally coming across, but there's quite a big shelter on that side of the river of the lake. So yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. If the wind was extremely tail or head, then you have to change the rowing considerably to adjust to those two conditions. But because it's quite a neutral condition and there's a little bit of shelter from that side, we can sort of concentrate more on the race plan and the rowing and the execution rather than having to change too much coming up to the race.
Now, Heat 4, which will be an hour after the original start, is that a benefit or not so much of a benefit because you're sitting around and you're waiting for your heat to start?
I don't think it's, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, we have a start time and you just build around that, and we have a process kind of going up to it. And again, the other heats, they don't bear anything on our heat. So that's, yeah, I don't think it's anything particularly special.
Now, since you've been here, you've had a few times on the water. What has been the one thing you've tried to hone in on to make sure that come race day, it's done at its optimum?
I think so. I think what I've probably tried to focus on most is just like not worrying about. So it's not, it's not like a Lucerne or something where it's like perfectly flat, like it's like glass. But it's like that for the whole course basically, and across all the lanes. So I think what I've just focused on mostly is thinking, okay, it's not going to be, totally, flat water, but even if you clip like a little bit of water, just keeping the boat up and moving, you actually don't lose that much speed. And when I focused on that most and just kept on top of like not getting too bogged down in the shell, but just as a result of the water being a bit like choppy, not choppy is not the right word, but like a bit alive. I found that that those have been kind of the best stretches I've had, or pieces, or paddling, or and going either way. So really in any wind direction. So that's probably been my main focus. Just keep doing the process, keep doing the pattern, even when there's a lot of commotion going on around. So.
Well, one thing's for sure, if you've raced in the 8 boat in Oxford, Cambridge, the pressure of the Olympics is probably a step down of what they put on the plate. I mean, the way that whole setup is in the UK, it is one of the largest events that goes on, and to be a part of that and now be a part of the Olympics. Rob, as a person that's had people do both, and you played a part of their journey to both, what has it been like for you?
Well, I mean, to be here is amazing. I've never been to the Olympics before, so it's a huge experience for me personally. I think you're right though. The boat race is a different experience in itself, and we've had Olympians that have done the Olympics first, then come to Cambridge, and they've been surprised at how big the boat race is in the UK and how much attention it gets. It's very singled in on this one race on this one day. There's obviously a lot of competitions going on around us, and a lot of different events, which is kind of what makes it such a special thing here. But we've had them both ways. We've got a few athletes here that came up at Cambridge with me, who learned to row at Cambridge and are here competing, which is great to see from some different nations as well. So yeah, it's hugely exciting to be here and to see some athletes I've worked with.
Yeah, and Dara, final question: how do you control those nerves? Not only for tomorrow night, but tomorrow morning.
Well, tomorrow night, that's the fun
That's all
bit.
smiles.
That's all smiles. Well, I don't know. I think I guess my attitude more recently has just been, when I go out and I race, like I have nothing to lose. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I've just been focusing more on what I can control, and when I do that, and not really fuss too much about like I can't, like running the sport, you can't like, I can't directly affect someone in the race. I can't tackle someone and throw them off. I can't affect what everyone else is doing. Really, all I can do is just focus more on me. And when I've done that, it actually just helps the nerves, because I know what I can control, and I know that when I think about it, like that takes the nerves really away. I would be lying if I'd said it's just all hunky dory, but yeah, I think the more I just kind of focus on saying, okay, we've had a great week of practice here. It's gotten better and better each session. Like now it's just time to, do and do what you do and have fun with it. Like, and I think when I focus on that and not gotten so caught up about like, am I going to do this? Am I, what's this result? And I found the result is just better. And so, yeah, I think that it's just about focusing on focus on my rowing, focus on my boat, and it's just a 2-kilometer piece. That's all it is.
Well, we look forward to you representing the nation of Bermuda tomorrow morning on the water, and then having the proudest of moments to carry the Bermuda flag into the opening ceremony.
I'm super excited.
Yes. All right.